Hey, how you guys doing? It is me again. They do call me Kraken, and we are not at our shop at the moment. As a matter of fact, right now we are at our day job. So it's lunchtime for me, and we're taking a little bit of a break. Wanted to come in here, and I want to finish this video out that we're doing for YouTube. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the third part of building this box. We've worked on this box for about 3 days, and what we're doing right now is we got it out of the clamps. We cut the splines on it. We cut the splines down. We sanded everything down. We wet the whole thing down to raise the grain on it, and then we sanded it down again, and then we cut the lid off of it, and that's pretty much all we accomplished. On the next day, which was actually yesterday, this stuff that we're about to show you we did 2 days ago. So I've got a lot of other projects that we need to complete, so I've had to put the box aside for a couple of days, and yesterday we didn't accomplish a lot. What we did yesterday was we cut a rabbet joint. We cut the sides down for the inside tray on the box, and so what we're doing is we're building a tray. It's not very big. It's a real shallow tray. It's about 2 inches, maybe 2¼ inches in height. We've got a red cedar bottom in it, and we cut the rabbet in that last night. We cut everything down to size, and we got it all kind of set to the side. But there's a lot of other projects that I need to be working on, so I've had to set that to the side. We will get back on it this weekend, but and we will, explain what we've done and how we've done it when we do get back onto it. So I do want to take a moment. I want to thank anybody who's come in here and watched these videos, whether it's within the time period that I posted them, or whether it's month, 2 months, 3 months later, however the case may be. And I would ask that you like the video, share the video out. If you don't want to share the video out, that's fine. Comment on the video, just drop a comment. Say, hey man, nice box, or hey, shitty box, you did a terrible job. You need to go find something else to do, whatever, what I'm saying. It doesn't matter to me. I do look at every comment, and I will respond to most of them. I say most of them because I don't give a whole lot of attention towards hateful people. So if what you have to say is hateful, then I'll pretty much just ignore it. But I appreciate the comment anyway, right? Any comment helps. I own and run Liberty Woodworks. And if you've watched videos from the beginning when I started this channel, you know that Liberty Woodworks is not a new business. Man, I apologize. I got something going on here in my throat right now. Liberty Woodworks is not a new business. Liberty Woodworks has been around since 2011. And when we first started, it was Liberty Leather and Woodworks. And we focused mostly on leather work. And that's what we did the majority of. We did some outdoor furniture stuff. We did a few odds and end things, shelves, bookcases, stuff like that, that we built out of woodwork. A little bit of furniture stuff here and there, a lot of workbenches, and that kind of thing. But as far as the stuff that we're doing today, we didn't do a whole lot of that back then. Most of what we did was leatherworks. My wife and I owned 2 tattoo studios. I was a tattoo artist, been a tattoo artist for a good part of my life, and we sold a lot of that stuff out of the tattoo studio. So we needed to keep things small that would fit in a display case, and so that's what we focused on. Well, in 2008, the recession hit, and it hit us pretty good. Texas was pretty resilient. We have a pretty strong economy here, and so that didn't hurt us until about 2012. It was 3-4 years into the recession before we really started to feel it. And we had most of our clientele came from the North Texas oil field, and it was all great. Those guys would get paid on Friday. They'd come in. It wasn't nothing for them to drop a lot of money. And we were doing really good. We were on top of the world. I wasn't very smart. and I've never claimed to be very smart. Had I been smart, we would have been putting some of that money aside. We would have been investing some of that money. We would have been saving up for a rainy day, building up our savings accounts, buying CDs, investing in stocks. We would have bought some property, had some land back before, prices skyrocketed. But I wasn't smart. We didn't invest anything. We went on a lot of trips, a lot of vacations. We bought a lot of stuff. We spent a lot of money, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this recession hit us, and they made a decision to shut down the North Texas oil field. And when they shut down the North Texas oil field, it wiped us out overnight. We lost over 70% of our business within 24 hours, and it was brutal. We held on for the next year or so. About the next year and a half, we held on until October 2013. We had no choice. We had to make the decision to go ahead and shutter the business and call it quits, and that's what we did. And so I went over the road as a truck driver for a few years after that, and during that time I was only home 4 days out of the month. So I had about roughly 48-50 days a year that I was at home, and obviously we did not get much woodworking or leatherworking done during that time. In 2017, I think it was 2017, 2018, I think it may have been 2018, 2019. Anyway, I came off the road, whatever year it was, and we had bought our own trucks, and we had started our own business, and we had built that business up, and we were doing really good. We were on track to break $1 million in income in 2021, or I'm sorry, in 2020. We were 2019. Yeah. Okay, so from mid-2019 to mid-2020, we calculated the last 6 months of 2019, and if everything had continued to go as it was going, by mid-2020, we would have made $1 million in that 12 months. Now, that's not profit, that's income. Anybody that knows anything about the trucking industry knows that that $1 million may sound good on paper, but you're not walking away with it anywhere near that. You're talking about somewhere in the vicinity of $16,000 just to do tire repairs on one truck and trailer. You're talking, upwards of $700-800 for a tank of fuel. And we had 7 trucks. We're running $1,500 a month in insurance on each one of those trucks. So, our monthly expenses were, they were up there quite a bit, and that's not including, payroll and rent and all that kind of stuff. So, we were on track. And then in 2020, as everybody knows, COVID hit. When COVID hit, again, we had things that were completely outside of our control. We had several contracts with shippers, and overnight everything just shut down. One day everything was going good, the next day we're wiped out. We couldn't get a load to save our life. None of the people that we had contracts with were running anything. The few people that we were able to work with to get loads weren't paying enough to make the load worth doing, and it was a downward spiral that spiraled very, very fast. Again, when you consider the fact that you've got upwards of $800 a day per truck in fuel cost and $1,500 a month in insurance cost, and then you've got the truck payments, which depending on the truck can be $1,200-1,300 a month. You've got payroll, which is a couple $1,000s a week. You've got it's just it skyrockets, and before we knew what had happened, we were on the point of bankruptcy. 2020 completely wiped us out, and we had to make the decision to shut that business. And so At that point, I was doing a lot of leather work on the side, and we were doing fairly well with it, but not good enough, not anywhere near good enough. But we were doing decent, but we weren't doing anywhere near good enough. And for several months, after the trucking company collapsed, we ran off of just the leather and what little bit of woodwork I did, and we were not super successful. So so I took another job, and then in 2020 I was run over by a car while I was on my motorcycle, and that put me out of commission for a very long time. So if you have watched my first couple of videos, you know the story. I don't want to recap the whole thing. But what I do want to say is that in the last couple of years that we have been rebuilding Liberty Leather and Woodworks, we dropped the leather. We decided that we were going to focus wholly on woodworking, and that we were going to seriously get really serious about running a business, you know, and start approaching it as a full-time business instead of as a part-time hobby or part-time hustle. And we have had a lot of success. Now, I say all that to say that this channel is part of that, right? And I'm not good at doing the YouTube, man. My videos tend to be too long. People lose interest. Maybe I'm not funny enough. I don't have a shtick, you know. I don't have a gimmick, you know. I'm just me, man. I'm a North Texas woodworker. I'm an older dude. I've got a great sense of humor, I feel like, but you know, business is business, and I try not to you know, joke around a whole lot where business is concerned. I do take what I do very seriously, but you know, maybe I just don't have the personality to make YouTube super successful, and if that's the case, that's fine. As we progress, we are hoping that the YouTube, the Facebook page, those things bring in a little bit of income here and there, and that we are able to use that to supplement the woodworking, because ultimately what we're trying to do is go full-time with just the woodworking business. I could do so much more if I could be full-time. So I'm doing the videos the best that I can with the situation that I'm in, but we run market to market to market, back to back, and I spend every free hour that I have where I am not at work at my day job working on the woodworking business, which is also my full-time job. So so we are constantly working, and really doing the videos is tough. So I don't edit, I don't joke, I don't do silly stuff, you know. I don't throw sound effects and goofy shit in my videos in order to attract views. I simply put out information. That's all I'm doing. I know that maybe some of you guys would rather see a step-by-step box build, and maybe when I work on something a little bit smaller and I'm not so pressed for time the way I am right now, I can do that. But right now, I am so pressed for time. I have so little time available. Today is December the 5th, 6th. I don't even know what day it is. I think it's December the 6th. Or maybe it is December the 5th. It's either December the 5th or December the 6th. I don't know. But on December the 13th, which is Saturday, we have another market. And we have Christmas coming up. And so we're going out of town for Christmas. I have Christmas gifts that I have to have done by the time we leave out of town that I haven't even started yet. We have this market coming up on the 13th that I have to have stuff finished for, and I'm only halfway finished with 3 or 4 different things. I've probably got 20 projects lined up. I'm obviously not going to finish all of them, but I need to get done whatever I can get done. So you know, I've tried to explain the process. I've tried to explain what it is that I'm doing with this box, and I really do appreciate you guys watching. So this big long 15-minute intro, which probably is going to lose a lot of y'all's attention, is here to say I would appreciate it if you guys would leave a comment, and I would appreciate it if you guys would like the video. I would appreciate it if maybe you guys might recommend the stuff that I do to other people. I feel like I have something good to offer the woodworking community, and in time my videos will certainly get better. Thank you guys for watching, and I do definitely appreciate you. For those of you that that celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope that I can continue to put out better and more engaging content over time. Y'all take care. Peace out. We'll see you here in just a second. Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you all for coming in and watching. I do appreciate the couple of comments that I've gotten so far, and I'm glad that some of you guys at least are looking at the content. So we have cut the splines off of the Keepsake box. This is our third day of working on this. We are a long ways from being done. We have glue residue all over the box. We have some cut marks on the side of it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to do an awful lot of sanding. Now we have a bunch of walnut shavings here. We cut all these off, not with this one. We cut all these off with a pull saw. I use the Cobalt pull saw. We cut all those off with the pull saw by hand. There's 8 splines on each side of the box, so that's 32 total sides that we had to cut off, right? And it took a little bit of time. So nothing ever comes out completely perfect the first time. Sometimes you have to make some adjustments. Sometimes you have to fix a few things, and that's what we're going to do next. So we're going to hit this with a sander. We're going to start taking all these marks off. We're going to start clearing everything up. We're going to find any micro gaps. I can actually see one right here and one right here that we're going to have to close up and fill. No big deal. We'll take care of them. And when we're done, we won't even know they were there. And slowly but surely, we'll get this to the point where we can cut the lid off. Hopefully tonight we'll be able to cut the lid off. We'll just have to see. All right. Thank y'all. Be back in a bit. Okay, we are back. So we have spent about the last 20-30 minutes sanding this thing, and we've gotten it looking pretty decent. This is still just a rough sanding, so this is at 60 grit, and I'm sorry, this is at 40 grit. So we have a long way to go. We're gonna hit it a little bit more, but we did get everything sanded down nice and smooth. Well, nice and smooth. We got all the marks out of it. It's anything but smooth at the moment because, like I said, we're at a 40 grit right now. We got everything, most everything sanded on the top. You see a little spot right here that still needs to get hit, but we'll get rid of that. Now what I'm going to do, I am a fan of chamfered cuts, right? You can see I got this chamfered cut on the inside right here. And what I am going to do now is I'm going to bring a chamfered cut on the outside of the top of this lid. If you guys have seen any of my boxes, you'll see I do this to a lot of my boxes. I don't do it to all of them, but I do it to a lot of them. And I try to do things that everybody doesn't do, you know. I want to make my stuff kind of stand out a little bit and be a little bit different than the crowd. That's just kind of, you know, how I am. And there's not a lot of people that do the chamfered cuts on the top of the boxes, and I just really like that that kind of interest that it adds to the box, I think. So we're going to cut a chamfered top on it. It's not going to be a real deep one. You know, it'll be a decent chamfered top, but it'll take away most of this line right here, you know, probably at least half of it. And you know, we'll look at it here again in a couple minutes. You know, if I don't like it when it's done, oh well, it's too late. This is one of those things you can't really go back and fix. I guess if I really didn't like it, I have enough meat on this thing that I could always cut it down quite a bit, you know. But I really don't want to do that. I kind of like what we have going on here. So we'll be back here in a few minutes. Okay, we have the chamfer cut, and to be honest with you, I think I'm pretty happy with how that came out. I'm digging it. I like it. So so we're gonna go ahead and leave it. We're not gonna do anything else to it. We are gonna do a little bit of sanding work. I got just a little bit of a lip right here, and so a little bit more sanding work. We're going to move up to 60 grit, and then we're going to do an 80 grit, and then we'll do a 120, then we'll do a 220, and then we'll be back. So stay tuned. We are mostly done with the sanding on the with the orbital sander. We are up to 220 grit now. We do have a good amount of hand sanding left to do. So we hit the center part of this with the orbital sander, but we can't get the rest of it. Now I do have a detail sander, but I'm not going to use it on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this inside just by hand, and we're going to get that smoothed out top and bottom. And then when we're done with the hand sanding, we're going to come in, we're going to spray the whole thing down with water, and that we'll probably come in here and do another clip while we do that, because that's the point that I really enjoy the most about doing these, because it's the first time you get to see kind of what this is going to look like when it has a finish on it. And so we're gonna work on hand sanding now, but we're really smooth right here all the way around now, and we've rounded off the corners, we've rounded off the bottom, we've done the chamfered edge on the top, and just ultimately I am really pretty happy with it. So the top is different, but this is what I wanted. I like it. You know, everybody may not agree. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I like it, you know, and I'm building it because I like it. When I'm done with this, I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever, unless something just goes terribly wrong, I have no doubt whatsoever that I'll be able to put a $300 price tag on this. So we still have a long ways to go though, so we're going to try not to get ahead of ourselves. As I said, the wood that the box is actually made out of is kind of a mystery. It was a big beam that was given to me, and it's hard to tell in this light in here with this camera. It doesn't translate very well, but it's got a real reddish hue to it. When we get it out in the daylight and get some pictures of it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's got a real reddish hue to it. So I didn't know what the wood was, and so I cut the slabs down, ran it through the planer. We took good pictures of it. We put it up on some wood identification pages that we're a part of, and there was quite a few opinions on what it could be, but the overwhelming majority of the opinions started or came down to two different trees. The first was redwood, and the second was old growth Douglas fir. And the opinion is pretty much split between the two. I've worked with Douglas fir before, and the problem that I have with this being classified as an old growth Douglas fir is the reddish color that it's got. All of the Douglas fir that I have worked with has been white in color. It has some brown undertones, but it's mostly been white in color. I've never worked with redwood, so I don't have a lot of experience with redwood. It's a California tree, California Oregon tree. They don't grow here, and so getting that wood is not something that happens very often. So based on my experience with Douglas fir, I'm inclined to say that even though the grain patterning on the surface resembles Douglas fir, the coloring does not. And it was super, super tight in grain. So I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if this will give a better, but you can see this is another piece of it, and you can see how deep that color is. Yeah, you can see here how tight that grain is, right? And so I don't know, you know, the color is not right for me for it to be Douglas fir. So I'm inclined to say it's redwood, but I don't honestly know 100%. So we're just going to run with it, right? Whatever it is, it's pretty wood. All right, we'll be back in a bit. Okay, I think we have gotten about as far as we can get with sanding right now. And so what we are going to do now is, I probably should have done this before I started the video. I have a spray bottle around here somewhere, and I don't know what I did with it. Ah, Lord. All right, give me 1 second. Let me find the spray bottle, and I will be right back. Okay. Sorry about that. I did find my spray bottle. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to spray this whole thing down, and we're going to get it wet. And what this is going to do is it's going to cause all of the grains that I've just sanded down to stand back up. And once they have stood back up, we can go over it with 320 grit and knock that all back down again, and we'll have a glassy, smooth finish that's ready for anything. Here's the deal though, I'm not gonna sand it down that final time just yet, because we're gonna cut the lid off of it. And I'm gonna end up having to sand this whole thing down again later on, because we have blue tape all in the inside of this thing, and I've got to peel that out. We have to sand the entire inside of the box. So we're gonna wet it down. We're just going to hit it real quick with a 320 grit sandpaper just to kind of knock it off, and then we're going, once it dries, and then we're going to cut the lid off. After the lid's cut off, we're probably going to be setting this box aside for a few days, because I have a lot of other things that I need to work on, and I need to get started on some of those projects. So let's wet it down, and we're going to get a look at, as best we can with the lighting that we have in the shop. One more thing real fast before I do that. So let me just blow it off real quick. My compressor's not plugged in, so I don't have very much pressure in here, but that's okay. I don't need a lot. All right, let's spray it down. So this is going to give us our first kind of look at the real color of this wood and what we are going to be looking like. So our centerpiece in the top is red cedar with black walnut, and then everything else around it is this mystery wood. I'm really not sure what it is. All right, and this is what I was talking about. You see that kind of golden red color? It's hard, it doesn't, I'm looking at the camera and it just doesn't translate as well as it does in person. It's a much deeper reddish color than what the camera seems to be revealing there. And you don't have to, you know, drench this thing, right? We're not giving it a bath, but you know, I just want to get a really good look at the color on it. So let's go ahead. That's what our bottom's going to look like. And then let's just go ahead and turn this here. This is what our top is going to look like. And this is what our box is going to look like. Now, when we put the finish on it, it'll finish a little darker than this, or a little bit more vibrant. But this gives us a really good idea of what we're looking at. So we just looking at this here, making sure when you wet this down, a lot of times it will reveal any flaws you have in your sanding. And those are things that you're going to want to pay a little bit of attention to. See, like right here, we're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to that before we hit this with the final sanding. There we go. That's much better. All right. Looks like we got a little bit just right in this crack right here that we'll need to address. Nothing major. Really, it came out. It's coming out gorgeous. And I'm really, really, really happy with this, the way it's coming out. It's just beautiful. It's going to be a gorgeous box. I have no doubt that we'll be able to put a $300 price tag on that, and no problems whatsoever. So we're going to use these strips here. We've got these 4 strips here. We're probably going to cut them down a little bit, but we're going to use these to build a tray inside of this box. So, again, we have a long ways to go with this before it's finished, but this is what we are looking at. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry. We're going to straighten up around the shop a little bit. I have stuff kind of just tossed everywhere while I was building this, and then we will be back to finish this here in a little bit. Okay, so this thing has dried. We went ahead and sanded it down to 320, but we didn't hit it real hard. We're going to be sanding this thing a lot, so we're not there yet, but we just wanted to hit it, smooth it up, and make sure everything was good. And then what we did is we measured our distance. I decided on 1 3/4 inches going down, and kind of how I did that is this was 3/4 inch deep. The top panel is roughly 1/4 inches. I wanted to add just a little bit more to that, so I figured 1 3/4 inches. I measured it on the box. It looked kind of good. I was happy with where it was at. So I went ahead and I ran blue tape all the way around the box. And then we cut the short sides on both sides. And then when I was done cutting those short sides, I retaped both of those ends. And then we cut one of the long sides, and then we retaped that long side. And then we cut the last long side, took all the tape off, and this is our box. So like I said, we got blue tape inside of it to kind of catch the glue squeeze out. We're gonna pull that up, see just how much sanding we're gonna have to do to it, and I ended up with about this much of a lip, which I'm happy with. We do have just a little bit of a groove right here, and a little bit right here, and a little bit right here, and of course those are on both sides. So when you sand those down, you have to be really, really careful, because you can really mess up your joint here by doing this. So the best way to approach that is to get sheet sandpaper and glue it down to a solid surface. Now, I don't have a table surface I'm willing to glue anything down to over here. So what I'll do is I'll cut a scrap of plywood, probably about half, again, the size of this box. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn that box over, and we're going to glue as many of those sheets of sandpaper down as we need to, just a 120 grit. And then we're just going to kind of rub the box on that surface in order to get rid of these glue lines. That will bring all of these surfaces down evenly. And then we're going to do the same thing with the top. So what we did before we took the top off is we made a mark right here on the box and right there on the lid, so that we know that this side of the lid goes on this side of the box, and that can be important later on down the road. So that's where we're at right now. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. The next thing that I did was we cut these down, these pieces right here, and I was fixing to glue those up when I stopped to do this right here. we have another box cut right here out of red cedar, and this is the top and bottom to that. This is also red cedar. All of this was cut out of a red cedar slab. So what I do is I've got a whole stack of slabs outside, and let's come around here. My shop's a mess, but you know, so this is one of those slabs that I've got, you know, and I've got a whole bunch of these outside. I've got probably 600 or more board foot of red cedar that we've cut down. This piece right here had quite a bit of rot in it, so there's a lot of punky wood in here that's really not good for a whole lot. But I was able to cut off enough off of this end right here to get the length that I needed right here, and this is all pretty clean wood, right? And so we've cut this the whole length of this box, but we're not going to need that much. So I've got just a little bit of that punky wood right here, but we'll trim that off. But I wanted a little bit of extra length, and we've also got enough to pretty much go most of the width of this box, and we're probably not going to need all that either. If we do end up needing more, we have another one right here that we can, you know, add onto that if we need to do that. And so what we're going to do with these pieces is we're going to cut a box for inside that's going to slip inside of here, and it's not going to be a real deep box. This was just roughly cut, and just kind of, you know, to give me an idea where I was at. None of that fits in there, right? So, you know, see how you know, little space that leaves right there. So what we'll probably do here is we've got this cut right now at about 3.5 inches. So what we're probably going to go ahead and do is cut that down to about 2.5 inches, and then we're going to make a small tray that's going to set in here. Now the plan is to cut 4 1 inch by 1 inch or 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. I haven't decided yet. Either 1 inch by 1 inch or 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch walnut blocks that will glue into these corners down here at the bottom. And what those will do is it'll give me something to allow this tray to sit on when it goes in here. So that tray will sit on those pieces. We have about this is probably no more than 3/8 of an inch, if I were to guess. Let's see here. No, we're right at about 1/2 inch in depth right here. So if this tray sits in here and it extends up about 1/4 inch, that should be okay as long as we can still shut the box. So we're going to play with it. We're going to see what happens. We want a little bit of room underneath the box. We want a little bit of room on top of the box. And our depth on the inside is sitting, just a shy under 5 inches. Yeah, it's almost exact. It's about a 1/16 under 5 inches right there. So, you know, about 4 15/16. So if we give it 2.5 inches, we'll have about 1.5 inches in the bottom of the box. I probably won't go any more than 2 inches deep. I don't know. We're going to have to play with the idea. I don't have a lot of room in here to work with because I did a 1/2 inch inset for the bottom and a 3/4 inset for the top. So I lost, you know, 1.25 inches in the depth, you know, but I'm still happy with it. We'll go ahead and cut this off for tonight. We'll pick this up a little bit later on. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave a comment. It really helps with the videos. You know, it kind of helps it be seen. In a way, it tells YouTube that my video has some kind of interest, you know. Like the video, you know. Doesn't hurt you to like it, you know. And, you know, hey, if you get anything out of it, share it out. If you like the content, let me know you like the content. If you don't like the content, let me know you don't like it, you know. Any comments kind of help. So We do appreciate it. We'll see you guys later on. This is part 3. We will come in with a part 4. Now, I'm sorry that I didn't do a step-by-step how-to video of doing this, man, but this video stuff just takes so much time. I'd probably be done with the box by now if I wasn't messing with the video. So we'll catch you guys later on, and y'all take care.